When you stop talking to yourself, 7 devastating changes you won't believe exist. The truth is, silence can be the loudest sound of all. You think your voice is just your own, whispering thoughts, bouncing around your skull? Think again. When you stop talking to yourself, you don't just lose a friend, you plunge into a dark abyss where secrets twist and reality starts to unravel. They say it starts subtly, a chill, creeping into your thoughts like a shadow at dusk, always lurking just out of sight. Then, one day, you're lost in an echoing silence that suffocates your mind, and it hits hard. Picture this, you're sitting alone in a crowded cafe, the steam from your coffee rising, yet you feel an unbearable loneliness. It seeps into your bones and sits heavy on your chest. You used to chat with yourself, make fun of the lady at the next table, or plan your day's adventures in loud whispers. But now? It's gone. Just silence. In that absence, you feel every heartbeat pulse through your veins like a warning bell. The barista glances over, brow creased. She knows something's off. Your gaze darts around, locking onto every pair of eyes that turn your way, reading judgment in every flicker of their pupils. You're drowning in the lack of your thoughts, and it's terrifying. This isn't just a personal dilemma. It's a phenomenon rooted in something deep and unsettling. A rumor floats through the underground world of urban legends. People pulling away from their inner dialogues have reported bizarre happenings. Chairs creak when there's no one in them, doors slam shut, and shadows whisper secrets from the corners of your mind. Your chest tightens at those stories, but they cling to you like a frayed thread, whispering. What do they know that you don't? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect, and just when you think you've felt it all, the real kicker hits. It's not just about conversation anymore, it's about survival. Those who stop talking to themselves wake up to a world where colors are duller, laughter feels staged, and even simple pleasures slip through your fingers like sand. A woman in line ahead of you turns abruptly, eyes ablaze with internal turmoil, a reflection of your own swirling fears. You feel compelled to speak, but silence grips you tighter than a vice. This isn't just about conversations lost, it's a cosmic joke played right before your eyes, and the punchline is nowhere in sight. What's really happening? Is silence stealing your sanity, or is it revealing the awful truth? As each unsettling moment unfolds, you can't help but wonder what lies beyond this eerie quiet, waiting to break the stillness and shake your very being. The cafe's dull chatter faded into the background as a bone-deep shiver crawled down your spine. You clutched your coffee, feeling the heat seep into your skin. It was the only warmth left in a world gone icy. Every tick of the wall clock echoed louder than it should, reminding you of the agonizing seconds stretching into minutes. People around you chatted, their laughter faint like the whispers of a ghost just beyond perception. And there you were, a statue in a bustling gallery where life continued to move while you remained frozen in silence, your mind spiraling more into darkness. The woman ahead of you, her wild eyes darting back and forth, seemed to sense it too. A fleeting moment of connection sparked as she stared right at you, desperation etched on her face. But instead of reaching for words, the silence thickened like fog. You could almost hear it suffocating her too, wrapping around her throat until her lips curled in a silent scream. Not again, she mouthed, and for the first time in too long, you understood what she meant. This was the silence that was stealing sanity, affecting more than just you. It was growing like a virus, infecting thoughts and devouring conversation. You glanced around, panic clawing in your throat. What if this relentless quiet was contagious? As if on cue, the barista, once smiling and cheerful, swiped a hand through her hair nervously, casting hesitant glances at her customers. She dropped a cup, its porcelain shattering on the ground like glass underfoot, the noise sharp and unexpected against the overwhelming stillness. Heads turned. Whispers bubbled to the surface like the forgotten debris of a storm. People began speculating, little groups forming, dissecting the bizarre atmosphere saturating everything around them. You felt a gnawing hollowness, a fear you couldn't quite articulate, spreading from your chest to your fingertips. You should say something, anything, but words failed you. What if you opened your mouth and nothing came out? What if this was the beginning of the end? A hand shook your shoulder just a touch, but it jerked you back from the edge. It was a young man, a stranger, but there was recognition in his eyes, as if he too had been wrestling with this silence, and he wasn't comfortable with the outcome. "We need to talk," he insisted, gripping your arm a little too tightly. "About what?" You responded, voice a strangled whisper. "Have you noticed it?" he said, stilling his eyes on the woman with wild expression. "It's happening everywhere and it's getting worse." His words ignited a flicker of hope, the idea that maybe you weren't alone in this nightmare. What if this was a collective problem? But before you could respond, a loud crash interrupted the moment. A chair toppled over, and an unseen force seemed to ripple through the cafe, sending a shiver through everyone present. Your heart raced, pounding against your ribs, and for a moment, the collective breath held in disbelief. Were you imagining it? Or was there something more sinister at play? The barista's expression turned to fear, palpable and consuming. "Get out!" she screamed, voice breaking through the muted veil. "Now!" Suddenly, the oppressive silence shattered, and panic surged, a desperate scramble as chairs scraped against the floor and people pushed to escape. Your instincts kicked in. You took a step back, heart racing wildly, overwhelmed by a tide of emotion that could only end in chaos. In that madness, the stranger yanked you forward, his grip fierce. "We can't leave." "Not yet. You need to see what's really happening before it's too late." "What do you mean?" Your voice was lost in the roar, questions dying in the settling dust. But he pulled you closer, urgency flooding his gaze. "The silence, it hides something," he insisted, breathless. "And we have to uncover it before it consumes us all." The cafe doors crashed open and chaos loomed outside. Fear clawed at your insides. What were you about to discover? Would there be a way out, or was it too late to turn back? As the whir of confusion swallowed the world outside, a chilling thought crept up your spine. What if the truth was more horrifying than the silence itself? The air was electric with chaos. People stumbled and tripped over each other, their frantic cries a symphony of confusion. You felt the stranger's grip tighten, pulling you toward the back of the cafe, away from the door and the pandemonium. "Trust me. It's safer in here," he shouted over the noise, casting worried glances, as if dangers lurked just beyond the walls. The forced calm of the cafe's interior became even more suffocating. The windows rattled, catching flickers of movement outside. Fear churned in your gut. What was out there? Perhaps it was safer to stay put, but every instinct told you to run. You glanced at the woman with the wild eyes. She darted closer, howling unintelligible words. "You have to listen," she implored, her voice rising above the clamor like a desperate plea for salvation. "What's happening?" you asked the stranger, the urgency of his mission dawning on you as the reality of the silence loomed over everything. "Who are you? Why can't we leave?" "I'm Sam," he said quickly, a flash of determination illuminating his expression. "I don't have time to explain everything right now. Just know that the silence is more than just an absence of sound. It's a signal. A call to something dark that's awakening." A spine-chilling tremor shivered through your body as he spoke, vibrating in sympathy with the fear radiating from everyone crammed into the small cafe. The corners of your mind whispered warnings. Could it be? Could this silence hold a sinister truth waiting to be revealed? Then it hit you, the strange behavior, the cold air, how notifications had ceased, and even the phones felt like lifeless bricks in everyone's hands. This wasn't just a lack of chatter. It was as if the very essence of communication was being siphoned away. Voices outside swelled, desperate and wounded. "What is that noise?" someone cried, pointing toward the entrance. A figure, shrouded in shadows, appeared by the doorway. The atmosphere thickened, the pressure almost tangible. The barista's voice sliced through the tumult again, shaky and fearful. "It's not just the silence, something is coming. You have to see." Her eyes were wide, darting between patrons and the growing darkness at the door. Sam turned to you, urging you with his eyes to push deeper into understanding. "We have to find the source, to see what it is before it consumes us. It's more than we can comprehend right now." Just then, a horrible screech echoed outside, a chilling sound like metal grinding against metal. Every nerve in your body screamed danger. It exploded through the cafe, scattering the remaining customers back toward hopeless chaos. The entrance lurched as something immense slammed against the door, rattling the frame. "Hold on!" Sam yelled, back pressed to the wall, ready to defend against whatever was about to burst through. The tension spiraled, each heart beating faster, synchronized with the impending dread. Time slowed, every second stretched thin as you anticipated what would make its entrance. What kind of creature, force, or horror awaited beyond that barrier? The chaos morphed into an unearthly roar, drowning out reason and coaxing forth a primal fear you hadn't known existed. Your stomach dropped, suffocating against the weight of impending doom. Just then, the barista shouted, "Get the lights! It's here!" And with that, darkness enveloped everything. The last sight you caught was the terrified faces of strangers, the intensity of fear binding you all together in that moment. What awaited you in the silent void? Was it the end, or the beginning of a nightmarish revelation? As the world around you fell into chaos, you wondered if there was any escape from what was crawling just below the surface. Would you be able to face it when it finally emerged? The darkness swallowed you whole. Shadows stretched everywhere, pulling at the edges of reality. It was suffocating, frightening, as though every breath you took was being choked away. Panic raced through you like wildfire, igniting the need to escape. But where? "Stick close." Sam's voice, low but fierce, resonated through the murky air. His hand firmly gripped yours, and you felt a spark of strength in his determination. Despite the terror, you had to cling to that. Shoulder to shoulder, you moved deeper into the cafe. The screeching sound from outside grew louder, a grotesque melody of anguish. The patrons you had seen moments ago, practically strangers, now seemed like your only lifeline amid the onslaught. "Turn on your phone's flashlight." The barista, still trembling, urged everyone. Murmurs spread like a ripple of hope, smartphones flickering on, tiny beams cutting through the oppressive blackness. You fumbled for your phone, your fingers shaking uncontrollably. As the light flared to life, it illuminated ghostly faces around you, people caught in varying states of horror and disbelief. You looked at Sam, who was ensuring every corner and every shadow was monitored. Deep in his eyes, you saw an urgency that matched the erratic beat of your heart. "It's coming for us," he said softly, barely audible, but a shiver ran down your spine. "We can't let it find us. We have to." He peered toward the doorway, shivering as shadows danced menacingly beyond. At that moment, another scream erupted from outside, raw, desperate. It transported you to a reality that felt unreal, like a distorted nightmare that you couldn't wake from. Would there be any time to wake? "You've got to listen." The wild-eyed woman from earlier forced her way into your sight, her face alight with frantic energy. When the silence came, it was like we were being called out. Everything stopped. We didn't know we were being watched." "What?" You gasped, grappling with understanding. "Watched by what?" "I don't know. But something's out there," she cried, her voice rising, frantic once more. "It wants to pull us in. We're not safe even in here." The cafe's lights flickered, a heartbeat away from failing entirely. You felt your breath hitch in your throat. Could the silence be the precursor to something more sinister, something that eagerly awaited your despair? And then it happened. An unbearable roar erupted. The very walls shook, and the ground felt like it was about to splinter beneath you. The floor trembled with the force of whatever lurked just outside. Glass shattered as the door splintered wood cascading inward, like jagged teeth hungry for flesh. Back! Everyone back! Sam shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. In a flash, he shoved you and a few others toward a far corner, as if protecting you from whatever horror was about to breach the threshold. The darkness inched forward, daring you to despair. You could feel it whispering, promising that hope was an illusion. Your heart drummed a frantic rhythm, each pulse vying for you to believe, this is the end. But there, among the dread and horror, a flicker of defiance ignited within you. This was more than survival. It was about understanding the darkness, facing whatever terror awaited just past the ruin. Then, on the edge of that panic-fueled realization, something half-formed and wretched began to breach through the doorway. A silhouette emerged first, stretching long and twisted in the dim light. What was it? Your breath caught, mouth dry, as you squinted trying to comprehend. Don't look away! Sam yelled, but your pulse thrummed louder, drowning out sense and reason, and that's when it dawned on you. The silence wasn't a lack of sound. It was a warning. All at once, your world shifted. Everything depended on the choice that lay before you. Would you confront the source? Or remain captive in your fear? An unbearable tension filled the air as you teetered on the brink. The moment had come. What awaited you in that darkness now? A gust of wind swept through the fractured doorway, swirling the darkness like a living entity. The silhouette lurched forward, impossibly grotesque, as if it were peeling itself from the shadows. You couldn't tear your eyes away, even as dread knotted in your stomach. Run! Someone shouted. Panic seized the crowd as they scrambled backward, a disoriented wave tossing bodies against one another. You felt your own feet scrambling to follow, but something anchored you in place. Stay calm. We can't let it take us. Sam's voice ground against the chaos, trembling yet fierce. You could see the desperation etched in his features, his pulse racing, mirroring yours. The shadow was closer now, morphing with jagged limbs that seemed to stretch out, eager to grasp at whatever warmth flickered before it. It was no longer just a shape, it had become a distorted reflection of darkness itself. A guttural sound escaped it, an echo of laughter mixed with despair. The barista, eyes wide with terror, threw her hands up. The windows! We can escape through the back. It sparked a frantic hope. You grabbed Sam's arm, urging him toward the rear of the cafe, where the promise of light lingered just out of reach. But behind you, the creature's presence loomed, darker than the void around it, as if it fed off fear itself. You're not going to make it. The woman screamed, her voice cracking. Once you're in its gaze, you can't break free. Her words dug deep into your mind, twisting around your resolve. Were you already in its gaze? Was the fleeting light merely an illusion, a cruel trick played by the darkness? Every instinct screamed at you to turn back, to listen to her warnings, but Sam pulled you forward, determination etched into his brow. Keep moving. His grip was like steel. You darted past tables and chairs, glimpsing terrified faces frozen in time, paralyzed by dread, uncertain of their fate. A crash resounded behind you. The creature lunged forward, forcing its way through the remnants of the doorframe. It was here, tangible now, and the world shifted under your feet, the ground you stood on trembling as if it could no longer bear the weight of your fear. Over here. A young man pointed toward a narrow alcove at the back. There was barely enough room for one, but it offered a flicker of safety. Sam hesitated, reluctance flashing in his eyes. It's not safe. But the darkness was closing in, its whispers beckoning like phantoms caressing your skin. You were wedged between desperation and instinct, the soft, eerie sound of your own heartbeat filling your ears. Go. You urged, shoving Sam toward the alcove. We can't let it get us. The few others who followed you scrambled as well, vying for the small gap. One by one, they slipped through some narrowly avoiding a grasp from the shadowy tendrils that now licked at the air around you. Then chaos erupted. The thing screeched, a sound that pierced through you like a jagged knife, and in that moment, you turned. You saw it massive, distorted, its eyes black voids filled with forgotten sorrow. It shimmered, shifting as if it were made of liquid night. It was fed by fear, and you realized if it consumed enough of you, you'd be lost forever. Now. Sam's shout broke the spell, the last calls of the remaining patrons ringing hollow. You dived into the alcove just as the darkness lunged forward, a wave of cold that almost knocked you down, but something yanked you and Sam grabbing you just in time, pulling you into the narrow confines of breathless, you pressed against him, the weight of the darkness just a heartbeat away. Your heart thundered. The only sounds now were labored breaths and the hollow echo of the creature clawing at the cafe entrance, its frustration palpable. You could feel Sam's warmth beside you, but doubt began to seep in. How long could you remain trapped here? Would the creature tire, or was this merely the calm before the storm? And then, the whimper-like sounds outside shifted, tuning ominously into silence. The tension grew, coiling tighter as you prepared for the worst. What happens when the silence returns? You asked Sam, trying to keep your own panic at bay, desperate to understand the fate that lay ahead. Whatever it is, we have to be ready, he replied, but in his eyes, you saw a glimmer of fear. The darkness had not abandoned you. And as the stillness settled, you wondered if this battle was only just beginning. Could you learn to confront the thing that thrived on your dread? What would it reveal next? The stillness was heavy, wrapping around you like a thick fog. Your lungs felt tight, as if the very air had grown dense with anticipation. You pressed harder against the wall, hoping to merge with the peeling paint as if you could disappear entirely. Sam stood close, his breath quick and shallow. You could sense his heart racing in sync with yours, a reminder that you weren't alone in this nightmare. Though it felt like a cruel twist of fate to be trapped here together, the cafe had become a death trap, the weight of the darkness outside pressing relentlessly against your frail fortress. You could almost hear it breathing, a rhythmic cadence that matched your pulse, mocking your shared vulnerability. A glint of polish on broken tiles caught your eye, the remnants of shattered coffee cups a stark contrast against the overwhelming blackness. Every object seemed charged with an unseen energy, a reminder of how fragile the boundary between safety and despair truly was. Then, the silence shattered. A soft, sinister whisper slithered through the cracks of the alcove. It was like a voice, seductive and soothing. You think you are safe, but the darkness knows you. It waits patiently. You instinctively recoiled, your breath hitching. Sam's grip tightened as the voice grew louder, curling around you, wrapping you in its icy tendrils. It lured you in, taunting you to glance outside, to make contact with the thing that was hunting you. Your body reacted, the urge to peer into the void clawing at you like a desperate whisper. You wanted to see it again, to confront your fears, but terror rooted you to the spot. What does it want? You murmured, half to yourself, half to Sam. The question hung in the air, thick and expectant. Power, came the soft reply, but it wasn't Sam's voice. Panic shot through you. The whisper was coming from within your own mind now. It feeds on your fear, your pain. Oh, how it hungers. Stop. You yelled, covering your ears. You could feel Sam beside you, his body still, rigid with tension. It's trying to get inside us. We can't let it in. You focused on Sam, his presence anchoring you against the tide of despair. He was a beacon of light in unrelenting darkness. We have to face it, you said, voice trembling. If it wants us to be afraid, then we can't give it that. We need courage. As if mocking your resolve, a sudden crash echoed from the cafe's entrance. The thing had returned. There was a savage energy in the sound, a pulse of desperation echoing with every thud against the door. Were those screams? Were the patrons still trapped out there, or had they succumbed? Stay close, Sam said. His voice was a lifeline, steady and strong. We can't give up. But as you took a breath, coiling your strength, you couldn't shake the feeling that this was merely the beginning. The darkness wasn't just a creature but a force, and it was relentless. With each heartbeat, you could feel the weight of its intent, crawling along your skin, probing for weakness. It began to whisper again, this time drenched in honeyed malice. Come join me, embrace your fear. You cannot resist forever. The darkness was inviting you in, a treacherous seduction. A spell woven from nightmares. But wouldn't resisting only amplify its grip? What if fighting against it only fed its power? Remember, Sam whispered, as if sensing your conflict. It's a trick. It can't take you if you stand your ground. In that moment, a flicker of recognition ignited inside your chest, a spark of rebellion. This fear, this thing, it thrived on surrender. But you felt something else, a raw, pulsing energy that yearned to fight back. Suddenly, the silence shattered again, this time with a shriek, one that resonated deep in your bones. The creature was on the move, its shape morphing, a shadow unleashed. The alcove wasn't just a sanctuary anymore, it had become a battleground. It knew you were there, and it was ready. Bracing yourself, you prepared to face not just the darkness outside, but the shadows lurking within. The real question hung heavy between you and Sam: how could you confront an inescapable nightmare without losing yourselves in the process? And then, the silence returned, but this time, it felt like the calm before a storm. Were you ready for what came next, or would the darkness claim you both? The darkness shifted, a living entity in the stillness, and you felt its gaze settle on you. Every nerve in your body screamed to move, run, hide, do anything but stay rooted in place. But facing it, the thing that seemed created from every fear you ever had, was your only option. Sam's whispered words crushed through the silence like shards of glass, his eyes wide with determination. But yours were fixed on the undulating shadow outside. What was lurking in the folds of blackness? Did it carry whispers of the souls it had consumed? Within that moment, you felt a pulsating tension, thick like the fog, as though the very air crackled with energy. The rhythmic banging at the cafe doors intensified, a symphony of terror that urged you further away from the solace you clung to with Sam. Then came a sound that shattered your resolve, an anguished scream, sharp and piercing, echoing from just beyond the entrance. The kind of scream that ripped through the very fabric of your soul, stirring every innate instinct to flee. Memories of laughter, warmth, and life swirled in your mind, tainted by the realization they might never be experienced again. Stay with me, Sam urged, his hand firm on your wrist, anchoring you back to reality. But the voice within you, dark and coaxing, was insistent. Leave behind your fear, come join the shadows. You, too, could be free. You struggled against the magnetic pull of that voice, trying to drown it out. But it felt like quicksand, each thought dragging you deeper into a nightmare of acceptance. Could fear be freedom? The boundaries blurred, tantalizing and treacherous. The cafe shook again as another crash rattled the flimsy barricade. You turned to Sam, your eyes wild with desperation. What do we do? Breathe. We gather strength, he answered, eyes darkening with a mix of fear and fury. It feeds on chaos. We need to break the cycle. Stand firm against it. He squeezed your hand, and for the briefest moment, you felt a flicker of hope igniting inside. You needed to fight back. To resist. But your heart thrummed with doubt, like a drum leading you towards surrender. Suddenly, the shadows morphed, swirling through the cafe like tendrils seeking you, grasping at your limbs. The grip was cold, familiar, and suffocating all at once. Panic clawed at your throat as you struggled against the unrelenting dark. The cafe walls seemed to pulse with life, and you could feel their longing, to be consumed, to let go of the anguish pressing against the fabric of reality, and then the whispers crescendoed into a roar. A cacophony of voices erupted, twisting through your mind like a tornado. They taunted and jeered, each accusation clawing at cracks already formed. You are nothing without your fear. Silence. You screamed, your voice cutting through the noise. You could feel the weight of Sam's hand grounding you, but could he fight against this? Could he hear the voices like you? With a sudden surge of determination, you took a step forward into the fray, reclaiming your body from the grasp of the darkness. I am not afraid. But that declaration only seemed to provoke the thing outside, a guttural growl emanating from the void. The ground trembled beneath your feet, and the air thickened with dread. You could feel something shifting, rearranging its form like a snake shedding its skin, preparing to strike. Stay back. Sam shouted, pulling you closer. But an uneasy dread seeped into your chest. Could love truly shield you from this consuming darkness? Or would it only amplify the pain? And then, an eerie silence fell. The shadows lingered, waiting, as if it were savoring the unfolding tension, preparing to lash out with greater force, and that moment, you realized the dark entity hungered for more than just fear, it wanted any shred of hope left in your heart. How could you stand unwavering against such a relentless foe? The boundaries of courage and despair blurred, and you were left teetering on the edge. The question tugged at you fiercely, what if fighting back was the real invitation the darkness craved? Then came a sudden flash, a blinding light from the cafe's back room, illuminating the dark with a fierce brilliance. You turned with trepidation. What lay beyond that doorway? Your heart raced. Could that light be your salvation, or was it merely a cruel trick designed to lead you deeper into despair? The light pulsed like a star, brilliant and blinding, standing in defiance of the creeping darkness outside. You could feel its warmth wash over you, drawing you in like a moth to a flame. But with every step, doubts clawed at your mind. Could it be real? Was this the salvation you'd so desperately sought, or was it another manifestation of the consuming darkness? Follow me. Sam's voice rang out, clashing against the silence, as he took a step into the glow, but your feet remained cemented to the floor. You felt a force pulling, pushing the very air from your lungs. What if it's a trap? You gasped, throat tight. It could be part of its game. Sam turned back, his expression fierce yet vulnerable. We'll never know unless we try. What if this is our way out? We have to face it together. You gulped, heart hammering. Could you trust him? With each fleeting second, the shadows hesitated, swirling, as though they too were unsure of their next move. The door behind the light lurked with mystery, the promise of escape or the lure of despair. Don't let it win. Sam shouted, and his words ignited a flicker of resolve inside you. You moved beside him, the strength of your bond fighting against the cold, consuming shadows. The moment filled with powerful electricity, charged like the air before a storm. As you reached the doorway, the shadows recoiled. What was this light? Hope? Desperation? You were unable to decipher which force pushed you through. You entered the back room. Instantly, the world shifted, shadows receding. The room was vast but layered in chaos. Broken furniture lay strewn about, remnants of lives interrupted, walls painted with strange, haunting symbols. But it glowed. Oh, it glowed. A warm gold light illuminated everything, making each detail sharper, more real. Look. Sam pointed, his voice tinged with awe. At the center lay an ornate mirror, edges swirling with an otherworldly glow, reflecting both you and Sam but also something else. It showed vivid images of each time you had faced fear, moments of courage laced with terror replayed like echoes in your mind. Is this a way to fight back? You whispered, entranced by the reflections. But what happened next sent chills racing down your spine. The mirror twisted, and within its depths lurked shadows. They writhed, testing the limits of their prison, searching for escape, searching for you. You felt their cold fingers reach out, gripping your heart like a vice. The whispers returned, louder, more powerful, as if summoned by your vulnerability. You don't belong here. Leave now. A shiver raced through you, every instinct screaming to flee, yet you remained frozen, your reflection locking you in place. Sam. Are you seeing this? It's like it's alive. Sam's eyes widened, realizing the truth that seemed to ignite a spark of horror in both of you. These reflections, there are fears. Trying to break free. Your mind spun, trapped between terror and the strange, undeniable hope offered by the light. Defiance surged into your veins. "We can't let them win," you shouted, an unexpected wave of courage rising within you. Stepped forward, towards the mirror, willing your fears to face you. What if instead of running, you stood your ground? What if you tamed the darkness rather than let it consume you? As you reached out to touch the surface, an unseen force yanked back. A gale of darkness clawed at you, desperate and furious. "No." Sam grabbed your arm, panic flashing across his face. "Don't. It's a trap." But your fingers brushed the mirror's cool surface. It shimmered, and in that moment, the darkness screamed, a chorus of anguish reverberating through you. It was losing its grip. Surging with newfound energy, your heart pounded in sync with the burgeoning light of defiance you unleashed. "What is happening?" Sam shouted, overwhelmed by the tumultuous energy filling the room. You took a deep breath, ready to confront whatever lay behind the eternity of shadows. But as your heart raced, you couldn't shake the gnawing sensation that something far worse was waiting. The darkness wasn't just on the outside, it was lurking beneath the surface of your selves. As the mirror pulsed with light, it revealed another haunting image. The doorway behind you flickered, offering a glimpse of what lay beyond. Was it salvation, or the abyss? Suddenly, the mirror shattered all at once, dark shards flying like daggers. "Sam. What do we do now?" Each shard glimmered with sinister intent, reflecting the nightmares that hovered dangerously close, ready to engulf everything once more. Would you confront them, or would the shadows consume you both? The shards hung in the air, suspended like threats poised to strike. Every fragment glimmered with flickers of your past fears, twisting memories alive once more. Tension crackled, thick enough to feel in your bones, as the once cohesive world around you splintered into chaos. "Get down!" you yelled, pulling Sam to the floor just as a shard word passed, narrowly missing your heads. The echoes of the shattering glass faded, replaced by the rising crescendo of whispers. They clawed at your sanity, dragging you into a spiral of torment as shadows danced around the room, seeking their prey. "What the hell was that?" Sam's voice trembled, panic lacing his words. I don't know." Panic flared, mingling with determination. "But we have to keep moving." With rapid, desperate glances, you scanned the chaotic room, searching for a way out. For a fleeting moment, the pulsing light seemed to beckon, but the whispers were growing louder, mingling with the cold laughter of the shadows, their hunger obviously insatiable. "Over there." Sam pointed toward what appeared to be a door at the far end of the room, partially obscured by debris. Breaths quickening, you scrambled to your feet, dodging shards that continued to explode outward, embedding into the walls, some even screaming with the faces of past fears. You could have sworn you saw the face of your childhood bully, twisted in anger, until the darkness pulled it back into its grasp. "We have to go now," Sam urged, urgency spilling from his lips. You sprinted forward, adrenaline pumping, heart racing. The door loomed closer, its outline flickering, almost mocking your effort. Just beyond it lay uncertainty. On this edge, hope and dread danced a fragile waltz with every step. As you reached the doorframe, a dark tendril lashed out, narrowly catching your ankle. You stumbled, falling hard to the ground. "No." Sam lunged, grabbing your hand just before the shadows could pull you in. "I've got you." With a fierce yank, he pulled you back just as the darkness snapped at the spot where you'd been. "What is that thing?" Sam shouted, breathing heavily, eyes wide with fear. "I don't know, but we can't let it take us." You gasped, frantically scanning the room for something to fend off the oncoming wave of shadows. "Look." Sam pointed toward the shards still hanging in the air. A desperate thought whirred through your mind. "We can use the mirror we have to reflect them back." You shook your head, desperate to push the thought aside. But it shattered. What's left? Without further hesitation, Sam charged toward the shards, his figure illuminated in the fading glow. "We can use anything. This light, it can't just die." Every instinct screamed for you to stop him, but confusion fogged your thoughts. The darkness closed in, an encroaching fog, and with it came a sickening realization. In that moment, your greatest fears weren't just the shadows, they were lurking within Sam, just as they were within you. Sam, wait. What if the light is deceptive? You called out, but the roaring whispers rose to drown your voice. It was your deepest terrors laid bare, clawing at the edges of reason. I have to try. He shouted back, determination etched in every line of his face. We fight or we die. He lunged toward the shards, his hand outstretched as if to grasp the shards of the broken reflections, and for a heartbeat, everything stopped. A blinding light erupted from the shards as they began to swirl around him, illuminating the room, casting long shadows flittering against the walls. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. Sam! You shouted, reaching for him, but it was too late. In that moment, the darkness roared in fury, and the light crackled violently, merging into an ethereal storm. As the shadows recoiled, you saw something flicker in their depths, a mass, an entity forming from the very fabric of what lay beneath. You realized then, the darkness wasn't just trying to consume you, it was fighting back against something far worse. Sam! You cried out, desperation clawing at your throat as you dug deep, the haunting truth setting in. Whatever it is, I won't let it pull you under. He yelled, his voice barely holding, but the looming figure began to coalesce, an impossible visage emerging. In its depths, you thought you glimpsed your own reflection twisted into a mockery, coated in shadows, laughing. What was about to happen next? Would you join Sam in the light, or would the darkness finally claim you both? The ground trembled, and the whispers turned into screams, drowning the room in their madness. Your heart raced as you prepared for the explosion that was sure to come. They were waiting. It was about to crash down, and you were at the center of it all. What choice would you make when the light flickered and the darkness surged? Would you surrender to the shadows, or would you finally confront your fears head-on? The storm of light and darkness clashed with a fury that sent shockwaves rippling through the room. Each flicker of brightness battled against the creeping shadows, and amid the chaos, you could hear the tortured screams melding with anguished laughter. It felt all-consuming, like a whirlpool pulling you in, yet through the haze of confusion, Sam's voice broke through. We need to stand together. Fight back. His words resonated, igniting a fire deep within you. This wasn't just a battle of shadows, it was a war for your very souls. The darkness wanted to draw you in, to consume your fears and make them its own. As the shadows lunged, you felt a surge of resolve. No! You shouted, pushing forward, your own hand reaching toward Sam. We have to face this. In that moment, as if sensing your strength, the light pulsed brighter, illuminating every corner of the chaos with fierce clarity. You both saw it, a flicker of movement among the shadows, its twisted face reminiscent of you, distorted by doubt, regret, and fear. Warmth radiated from the shards, and despite the looming darkness, you were reminded of your worth, your past victories. Every single moment of courage you'd gathered throughout your life surged back, cutting through the fog as vivid memories painted themselves brightly in your mind. Remember when you faced your bully? You yelled. Remember when you stood up for others? We've fought before, and we can fight again. The words rekindled a glint in Sam's eyes, and he nodded, pulling an ancient shard closer, absorbing the raw energy from it. Together! He cried, grabbing your free hand. In that brief moment, the chaos faltered. Taking a deep breath, you focused your thoughts, channeling every ounce of bravery you had. Let us show it we're stronger. The newfound determination surged through you, lighting your spirit like a beacon. You conjured all your fears, visualizing them clumped together, their weight pressing down on you, but now, instead of dragging you into despair, they became tangible, a force you could wield. With that, you closed your eyes and whispered a powerful mantra to face the darkness. I am more than my fears. I embrace courage. The air thickened with energy as you and Sam merged your thoughts. It felt electric, the room's chaos quieting to an almost reverent hush, as if reality itself paused, waiting for what would happen next. Then, with a surge of exhilaration and clarity, you cast the energies from the shards outward. They twisted into a spiral of light, a cyclone exploding toward the dark mass slithering away from the brightness. It writhed, clawing at the edges of its own existence, shrieking with frustration as the light began to consume it, exposing the writhing doubts and fears that had once held such power over you. "Keep it going," Sam shouted, eyes glimmering with adrenaline. Together, you surged forward, channeling everything into that light as it grew more intense, burning brighter than the darkness could handle. The tendrils flickered like fireflies before crumbling into dust, dissolving in the stream of incandescent energy emitted from the shards. The echoes of the past began to fade, unshackling you both from the weight of despair. You could see the forms of those who had once been trapped, flitting away from the darkness, emerging back into the light, faces filled with wonder and relief. The cafe transformed around you, crumbling darkness giving way to warmth and connection. With one last surge of will, the remaining shadows were vanquished, their cries fading into silence. You stood there, breathing heavily, the weight of what you had just done settling around you like a warm blanket. Sam turned to you, his expression a mixture of awe and disbelief. "We did it." His smile erupted like sunlight breaking through a storm. It was then you understood. This battle had forged you both into something new, something resilient. "I couldn't have done it without you," you replied, finding comfort in the bond that had formed in the depths of fear. Together, you faced the darkness that had threatened to consume you, and together, you emerged victorious. The cafe now stood quiet, filled with a haunting beauty, light illuminating the room, and shapes of laughter melting back into the atmosphere. Patrons reappeared, eyes wide with wonder and joy, grateful for their escape from the gnawing shadows. As the last of the remnants dissipated, you felt a new wave of hope. You and Sam exchanged a knowing look, understanding that this wasn't just about what you had faced. It had been a reminder of the power that resided within you, an unwavering spirit against any storm. With renewed purpose, you both walked out into the restored world, its colors vivid and alive. "We won't allow that silence to claim us again," you said firmly, determination echoing in your voice. "Not ever." "No more hiding," Sam agreed, matching your fervor. "We'll keep talking about everything. We can't let silence creep into our lives again." And with every step, you knew together, you would face whatever came next, resilient and unbroken. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. Now this is your turn to act. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss our next exclusive stories that dive deep into more uncharted realms. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm so more readers can join our community. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this heart-stopping ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need this incredible conclusion in their lives. Your support makes all the difference.